Just a little bit about Monica. She's been in pro-life most of her life. Shortly after she had come to Chicago to study at Loyola University, better known as Loyola Chicago, not to be confused with Loyola here in Baltimore. Anyway, she got involved in pro-life. She's done incredibly great things. She's written probably the best book in the history of the pro-life movement. Story of the abortion wars. She'll be telling about some of those stories, but she's going to focus primarily on how important it is that we be in front of these death chambers, abortion mills, and use our power just to be present can greatly influence these women not to kill their babies. She's also the founder of Citizens for a Pro-Life Society. She's the founder of the Red Rose Rescue. She's the mother of 3. And she's still out there sidewalk counseling and going around America to give talks. Please welcome Dr. Monica Miller.
Well, thank you for being here. Hopefully you can see me. The podium seems pretty big. Perhaps, what is your name? Alan. Alan? You could distribute these to people in the pews. This is a promotional card for my book, Abandoned: The Untold Story of the Abortion Wars. So Jack has asked me to give these talks focused on the pro-life apostolate of sidewalk counseling. I don't know, how many of you have actually ever been outside of an abortion clinic? Okay, well, everybody, pretty much. Anybody actually sidewalk counsel? Okay, very good. Okay. Which clinic are you going to? Okay, okay. Denise, you're...
Yeah, we do the Hillcrest in Catonsville.
Okay.
Close to the Chin Baptist Church on Route 40.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, well, that's fantastic.
Can't get close to it, though.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to be addressing that problem. I'm familiar with it. Began getting involved in the pro-life movement. It's been a long time. I was only 23 years old, and that would be back in 1976. So now everybody's probably doing the math. And I was studying at Southern Illinois University at that time. Actually, I just graduated. But I soon moved to Chicago to begin studying theology at Loyola. And I was attending St. Ignatius Parish, which was just down the road from the campus. And this was in Rogers Park in Chicago. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Chicago. I lived there for 8 years. So a woman from the parish, her name is Marcita Hecht, and she says, "Hey, Monica, let's go to a pro-life meeting." I says, "Okay, sure." And that would have been in 1978. And so we go down to the downtown Chicago, and we're going to the offices of the Illinois Right to Life Committee. And at that time, Joseph Scheidler was the executive director. Okay, his picture's actually on that banner. He died at the age of 93 in January of 2021. So it turned out that the meeting was to plan a sit-in at an abortion clinic in Chicago, Concord Medical Services. And so if you're going to do a sit-in, you have to have people willing to risk arrest. And so when Joe said, "Well, is there anybody here who's willing to risk arrest?" Okay, so I raised my hand, and the rest is history, I guess. I have to say that Joe Scheidler had an enormous influence on my development as a pro-lifer. And I actually have dedicated my book to him. So the inscription in the book is, for Joe, who set me on the path, and for Edmund, who came with me. And that would be my husband, Edmund. And Edmund and I actually met getting arrested together. So I found the success of, how to have a successful marriage, because nothing says I love you like a pair of handcuffs. This was when we did a rescue. Now we started to actually call them rescues at the Bread and Roses Women's Clinic in Milwaukee. And I had moved to Milwaukee to begin work on my doctorate. When I went to Marquette University. So I was hanging out with the Jesuits. Please don't hold that against me. Okay, there were quite a few really good ones. Sidewalk counseling, I actually, when I went to that meeting at the Illinois Right to Life Committee, I hooked up with some pro-lifers who were involved in this sidewalk counseling, and so I started to go out with them. We went mostly to Concord, and then we often were at the Michigan Avenue Medical Center, right on Michigan Avenue, just down the road from the famous Art Institute. You could see the bronze lions right from the entrance of that abortion center, and then the famous Grant Park was right across the street. So, some of this may sound already fairly familiar to you, especially since some of you are already involved in this work. But, why do it? Well, the simple answer for us, of course, is that abortion is murder, and unborn children are literally being murdered. And it's all very legal. And not only is it legal, but the abortion centers where the abortions are taking place actually advertise. All right. So you know where they are located, you know what times they are doing the killing, and so the point being that we cannot be indifferent to the injustice of what's happening there at these places. So to stand outside of an abortion clinic, you're going to be literally approaching the moms as they're going in there. And your goal is to persuade, right? You want to persuade them from going through with right there and then, their scheduled abortion procedure, okay? I mean, we call it counseling. It's not as if you've gone to some sort of a school where you get a degree in this, okay, or a certificate, all right? You're not going to have a diploma in sidewalk counseling. And maybe the thing I could perhaps, to what can I compare it? If you were to be a volunteer on a suicide hotline. So somebody who is seriously depressed and considering suicide calls that hotline, and you got to be right there and then ready to talk that person out of it, to listen to them and persuade them that life is worth living no matter what your situation. So it's life or death. And so if I had to compare it to something, that would be the comparison, I think. When what's involved? Well, ideally, you want to be at an abortion center that has a storefront entrance. So the door actually opens up onto a sidewalk, okay, a pedestrian sidewalk. And so you're able to actually literally talk to every mom going in there. Now, I know there are a lot of abortion centers where there's a large parking lot between you and the door, and that presents other problems, of course. Okay, so, that, I mean, if you had your choice, to cover a particular clinic, that would be the first choice. To go to a place where you can actually, excuse me, interact with the moms. You want to definitely have literature, okay? Now, my husband's an English teacher, and he says this is not literature, right? But pamphlets, brochures, or whatever. Now, the one I have here, and you may be familiar with it, it's put out by the Pro-Life Action Ministries in Minnesota, and they can customize the phone number for you if you order them from Pro-Life Action Ministries. So they'll put a local pregnancy help number on this brochure. And I think that's enormously important that you are partnering with your pregnancy help centers. Hopefully there's one that's not going to be too far away, right, from the abortion center itself. You got to know when is that pregnancy help center, when is it open, what hours are, is the staff available, do they offer free ultrasounds? That's super important. But what I do is I actually put my own name on this thing. I just write it in a Sharpie or something, and so it'll say, for help, call Monica. And then I put my own cell phone number on there, and indeed, by having done so, I have gotten women to turn away. And I can give you 2 examples. About 18 months ago, I was out at the Summit Clinic in Detroit, and a woman showed up, and I talked to her very briefly. She accepted the pamphlet, but she went in to the abortion center. However, her boyfriend was sitting in the car outside, so I had a lot of opportunity to talk to him, and I said, at least text her that there's somebody out here who wants to help you guys, to help, let her know that there is help, and he did, okay. But in the meantime, I had left the abortion center, but later that day at about 5 o'clock in the evening, I got a call, and this woman says, "Are you Monica?" I says, "Yeah." She said, "Well, I was the lady at the abortion clinic, and it says that you'll help me." So she turned away, and she called me. Her name is Dion, and the boyfriend was Jeremiah, and they went ahead and they have the baby. It was fantastic, and I'm still actually kind of helping them out once in a while. And I think that's the other thing to realize is you really do have to have some very practical resources. I mean, that mom really needs to know that you're going to be there for her. I mean, you're going to pay her rent, you're going to pay her car payments, you're going to get her a car, you're going to pay her utilities, you're going to help her with, to arrange that prenatal care. She's got to need to know that you really are going to back her up. So you need to know what your own personal resources are. You get people together to donate funds for that particular woman that's been turned away from abortion. So you really, I mean, one of the important things that we do is really help them. And I got to say, I mean, in terms of Citizens for a Pro-Life Society, by now we've spent tens of thousands of dollars helping our moms. And I can tell you about Demetria. I turned her away on March 28th of this year. And again, it's kind of similar to Dion. She went in to the clinic, but I had already given her, she had the lifeline, right? This is the lifeline. And then she came out. She came out of the clinic, but she kind of brushed me off. And I walked after her, to reassure her, come on, you don't need to do this, let me help you or whatever. But she did leave, but I didn't know why, okay? She texted me about 15 minutes later. It's a good thing I had my phone with me, okay? I would have missed that. And I immediately called her back. And again, it was, okay, you said you're going to help me, well, I need help. I've decided not to get the abortion. So since Demetria is also I forget exactly when I think the baby's due at the end of November. Okay, so like I said, having that phone number and really being able to offer them real practical financial support is very, very, very important. Now, the other thing too is, for example, in Detroit, my husband operates a pregnancy help center called Guadalupe Workers. Okay, so it's dedicated to Our Lady of Guadalupe. And they have free ultrasounds. And this is the best ultrasound machine you could ever have. It's 3D color. It's super duper. You can thank the Knights of Columbus for donating it to them. So for example, more recently, I talked a mom out of abortion at Summit, and her name is Taylor. And I said, look, you can meet me at Guadalupe Workers at 4 o'clock this afternoon. I will get you that free ultrasound. I'll be there for you. And sure enough, she showed up, and the baby was saved. So being able to offer a free ultrasound and to be able to offer it as soon as possible, that right then and there would be ideal. That you know that the Pregnancy Help Center that you're partnering with has that ultrasound machine, and the staff is there, and you can even just go with the mom and be with her when that ultrasound is performed. And I tell you, these moms really they change when they see that baby. They're completely in awe. There's a certain thrill. It's a remarkable conversion, right? From being 1 hour before they were going to kill their kid, and now it's like, oh my gosh, this is a real baby. So it really makes a difference to be able to offer that free ultrasound as soon as possible, and ideally that right then and there if you can, or later, at least later on the same day, or you're assuring her that you'll be there and you'll meet her at the Pregnancy Help Center. So literature saves lives, but the other thing is you really need to know what's in here, okay? So you can actually talk to the moms about what's presented in your pamphlet. I think it's essential that there at least be one photograph of an aborted baby, so you can show them what really is going to happen to your child, okay? Nowadays, you definitely have to have information on abortion pill reversal. Okay, so that's also in, this is like one-stop shopping here with this particular pamphlet. Fetal development, facts on fetal development and so on. What risks of abortion to the mom. So, when you're approaching these women, usually I'll just say, if you're going into this abortion clinic to get an abortion, I'm going to help you. You don't need to do this. This is your son. This is your daughter. Talk to me. Let me know what's going on. If I can get her to stop, it's important that I don't do all the talking. I got to ask her questions like, how far along are you? Oh, I'm only 7 weeks. I'm only 12 weeks only. Well, then you got to know you got to know your facts of fetal development. Well, from 18 to 21 days, the heart of that baby's already beating. Electrical brain waves can be detected at 5 to 6 weeks. All the bodily organs that baby will ever have are already in place by 6 weeks. This is your son. This is your daughter. You're so beautiful. This baby will probably look like you. So you're really trying to humanize and personalize that baby for that mom, because that's the thing that she's suppressing, and certainly the abortion center is going to help her continue to suppress the reality. So you want to really make that baby literally alive for her, and certainly talk to let her know about the possible consequences to herself. I mean, women have died in abortions. We've had women die in abortions in Michigan, and the infection, the perforated uterus, and then just the psychological regret that you're going to carry possibly for the rest of your life. You don't need to do this. We are here to help you. So please step away, come away from this abortion center, and you never will regret that you gave life to this baby. So those are some of the messages, the messaging that you want to communicate with that mom. I will eventually, I'll ask her, do you believe in God? Where's God in your life? I mean, who's in charge here, right? Human life belongs to the Lord, and you're aborting his children. And these unborn children are made in the image and likeness of God. You're doing something that's desecrating the most beautiful, wonderful thing on earth, right? Another human being. And so she'll have some religion, talk to her about what, do you think God is supporting you in this or whatever? No, sometimes, you do get them to say, oh, God will forgive me. God, we have a forgiving God. God will forgive me. I says, God wants to forgive you right now for even wanting to get the abortion. Now, not just right now, you are in need of forgiveness and repentance, right? So you just got to throw it back at her. Pray with the mom. Let's pray. Let's pray together, okay? Sometimes they actually know the Our Father, but you can make your own prayer with her. Get her to come away with you. So there's a restaurant and McDonald's across the street or whatever. We've talked a lot of women out of abortion sitting in a booth in a restaurant. Get them to come away with you. Let's talk, at least talk to me. If you still want to make a decision about abortion, okay, but you at least talk to me first, please. Give me a chance to help you. So to get the woman to come away from the clinic. I would say if you got the woman to go away with you, most likely that baby's going to be saved. Okay, not every time, but often. They will turn around. You get her to go to a pregnancy help center and see that ultrasound, baby saved. So, so some of the things, just to know that it really can happen. And then this despair that you might have, and really a heartfelt disappointment that even after you've talked to a mom outside the clinic, she goes in. Well, okay, but as I already indicated, sometimes they come out, and to me, it's Lazarus rose from the grave. Lazarus came out of the tomb, right? That's really what it's like. So don't necessarily give up. And of course, we're going to do it. Jack, Jack's taking a nap here. Oh, do we have the effective sidewalk counseling? Are we going to pass that out?
Pass those out right now.
Okay, so this is a well, I don't know. I guess I'll call it a brochure to whatever that I wrote on what to do. What makes effective sidewalk counseling, and of course you got to fortify yourself with prayer. Okay, this is the first thing. Fortify yourself with prayer. If you are able to go to a clinic that's a storefront entrance, and you really are able to talk to every woman going in there, leave your pro-life signs at home. Okay. Now, why do I say that? You don't want to give these women the impression that you are protesting abortion. Now, not that I got a problem with that, all right? Please understand. But I think it interferes with your ability or for her to engage with you if she thinks you are protesting abortion. I mean, ideally, you just want to be Joe Schmo. You want to be a regular person. I don't even want to necessarily hold my literature, because that gives me away instantly. I'll keep it in deep pockets, and I'll pull it out when I need it, because I want her to see that I am not confronting her. I am not a threat to her in any way. I really want to talk to you. And signs, yes, you can have the signs, but put them down the block where the traffic, the traffic pattern, women are going to be coming and pulling in. They're going to come down. Put your sign there, right? Just keep the signs away from you, all right? In a situation where you're going to really be able to talk to these moms, okay? And you should have a partner with you, at least one other person with you. when you're out at these abortion centers, okay? However, there are the clinics, of course, where there's this huge ocean of parking lot, right, between you and the door. So that presents a set of real issues and difficulties. So that means you're not less likely that you're going to be able to have that one-on-one discussion with the mom. Okay, and usually she's not the one doing the driving, so probably sitting in the passenger seat, boyfriend or parents or friend or whoever is doing the driving. Can you flag down the car, slow it down as it's pulling in? Yes, possibly you can do that. Roll down their windows. At least first thing is give them this. That's the lifeline, because you're going to have very limited opportunity to talk to that mom right then and there. Okay, because they don't want to block the driveway. Okay, there's an issue with their car and all of that. Somebody might be trying to pull out of the driveway where they're pulling in. Okay. Have women turned away in those situations? They certainly have. Okay. But because your ability to engage them on that one-on-one, like you would at a place where there's the storefront entrance, then you need your signs, because your signs have to do your work for you in a way that you can't. So yes, have your signs. You should have the signs of fetal development, signs of abortion victim photos, and a big poster that has pregnancy need help, and you put that local pregnancy help number on that sign, and make sure it's very, very visible as they're pulling and they see that, okay? So in that case, I think the signs are very appropriate, in fact, really necessary, okay? Because you have, like I say, that limited opportunity. Sometimes the police are called, okay? You've been accused of blocking or harassing or whatever, right? Stand your ground, though, when those police officers come. Okay, that's why it's kind of important to not be there by yourself. Because now you have a witness or witnesses, all right, that counter what you're being accused of. Okay, usually the police are there; they'll just give you a warning. Well, make sure you're not blocking, blah blah blah. I have to say, I've never ever been arrested sidewalk counseling, ever. So the probability of that happening, almost nil. But the police have come, okay? Sometimes they don't even get out of the squad car. They kind of just look around and they drive off or whatever. Don't argue with them, though. Don't be hostile with them. Be respectful, but stand your ground. You are exercising your First Amendment rights. You're not doing anything wrong. I'm not blocking the sidewalk, okay? So, all right. Certainly you don't want to be shouting at the women. Now, I do know I've had the situation, and I do address this in my effective sidewalk counseling. A lot, God bless them, but a lot of evangelical type Protestants just don't know what they're doing. Okay, they are there to preach, and they do it really loudly, and sometimes they even do it with amplification that is not going to turn those moms away. They will put up their barriers, because you're not engaging them humanly. How are you going to talk a woman out of an abortion when you don't even know what her problems are? Why is she there? And that's the other thing. You let her do the talking. I already have 3 children. I just lost my job. I can't pay my rent. All right, I've got warrants I haven't paid. All right, so now you know what you got. Now you know what you're dealing with. Okay, now you know. Okay, we can help you with that, right? All right, my boyfriend just left me. Whatever, you can. But if you're just yelling at them, preaching the gospel to them, you're never actually effectively communicating with them in a human way. So we want to try to avoid that. I also say avoid the pro-life circus. Okay, what's the pro-life circus? Well, you've got the evangelicals shouting through their megaphones, and you've got the picketers over there, and then you're trying to do sidewalk counseling. All right. The more quiet and the more peaceful it can be on that sidewalk, the better it is for you. Okay, So you want to cultivate a sense of serenity on the sidewalk, so that mom will feel more inclined to talk to you, right? Okay. Women, I have given myself some time to think about this. In my experience, and I know this is probably not going to be the experience for everyone, but the women who I have found to be most receptive to turning away from abortion because you were at the abortion clinic are black women, African American women. Close to that would be Hispanic women. Now, some people will flip that and say Hispanics first and blacks, but I've kind of found it to be more the reverse. But then women who are Muslim will be more receptive. And I maybe it's because of the abortion centers where I usually go. 90% of the women going in are black. Okay, so I would then have to say 90% of the women that I've turned away from abortion are African American women. Right now, all of them are. Okay, my husband, who is the president of Guadalupe Workers, actually have their pregnancy help center is in a Hispanic neighborhood in Detroit. So they have a lot of Hispanic women that come to their pregnancy help center. I hate to say it, but the women that are less likely to listen to you are white. And especially if they're middle class or upper class women. I can count maybe on two hands in 40 years the white women I've turned away from abortion. And I've pondered that. Why is that? Well, a couple of things. I mean, this is not something scientific, but in terms of a survey. But I did think about it, and I believe it's because black women in our, depending on where they live, already live in a situation where there's a great deal of insecurity. And they know that they are not in control. So much of their lives have been out of control. Well, and ironically, I guess you could say they are the ones more inclined to accept something that's not in control. This unexpected pregnancy, they are able to absorb the situation in a way that the middle class or upper class white woman cannot deal with it. They have to be in control of their lives. And this unexpected pregnancy, the baby they don't want, that they didn't plan and aren't supposedly ready for, they can't fit that, they can't adjust to that upheaval. And and not all the time, not every woman certainly, but usually the women that we help, they're not coming to the abortion clinic already equipped with a pro-abortion ideology. I have a right to do what I want with my own body. This is about self-empowerment and self-determination. And so they don't have the feminist mindset that I have a right to do this, you see. But the middle class or upper class white woman, I have a right to an abortion. And so if I have to battle through the ideology before I can help her, so much more difficult. Okay, because it's not about their problem, it's about their mindset, right? And so usually I don't find that to be the issue with the black women or the Hispanic women. They are just overwhelmed and feeling overwhelmed. Okay, and so that's why they're there. And they can be very receptive if they really believe you are authentic, and really will be there to help them in their life circumstances. Of course, that doesn't mean that, if a white woman shows up, don't talk to her, of course, but I'm just saying, be prepared, be prepared. So here's a couple other thoughts. I believe that being outside of an abortion center is never a failure, even if you never turn one woman away ever. You've never saved any babies. You have not wasted your time, and it is not a failure. Okay, for example, well, here's something else. So fairly recently, it was in July, okay, I was at Summit, and a mother showed up with her daughter. The daughter was getting the abortion, and I spoke with them briefly, and they went into the clinic, and about 10 minutes later they came out, and they came up to me and they said, "We've changed our minds. We're not going to do it." And they said, when we were coming to the abortion clinic, we prayed that God would give us a sign. And for them, the sign meant just that somebody would be out there, not even that we would talk to them necessarily. So it was myself and my friend Pam and Philo, okay, was there that day. And so Marion is the name of the mom, and the daughter's name is Zoe. And we got them over to Guadalupe Workers, and they had the ultrasound. They said, "You are angels, absolute angels. We can't believe what has happened today." So there you are, just by being there. That baby was saved. It's glorious, absolutely glorious. It's such a joy. And what would have happened if we hadn't have been there? See, there's the thing, right? If you hadn't have been there. But here's the other reason why being there is never a failure. So I'm probably one of 50 people, maybe in the world, that actually have retrieved the bodies of aborted babies from the trash. And the first time was in 1987 at the dumpster behind the Michigan Avenue Medical Center. And I talk about this in my book. But I want to focus on the experience that I had in 1988. So we found out that a pathology lab in Northbrook, Illinois, was receiving the bodies of aborted babies and leaving them in boxes on their loading dock at this pathology lab. And our group, Citizens for a Pro-Life Society, at that point we were headquartered in Milwaukee, and then Joe Scheidler's group in Chicago, the Pro-Life Action League, our groups teamed up to do these retrievals. And Northbrook, Illinois is equidistant from either Milwaukee or Chicago. Okay, it would be going south from Milwaukee, going north from Chicago, and there would be Northbrook, Illinois. So we, the first time that we went to the Vital Med loading dock, it was a cold February night, snow on the ground, and the pathology lab, Vital Med, was located in an industrial park. Okay, so we found the entrance that opened up into a very large garage, probably twice the size of this chapel. Okay, more or less. And as soon as we opened up the utility door, we were confronted by a long concrete ramp that led right directly down to the loading dock at the other end of the building. And I could see that there were cardboard boxes strewn about on the loading dock, and we hoisted ourselves up, and we opened up the flaps on the boxes, and they're all filled with aborted babies, hundreds of them. Now, this had not been my first time, okay, retrieving the dead unborn. But that night, something struck me very deeply, a new awareness, okay? As pro-lifers, we rightly, very rightly believe, and what is it that we're fighting against, what the plight of the unborn is that they've been denied their right to life. Right? There's the injustice. They've been denied their right to life. But that night, I said, there's something else going on. And the plight of the unborn child is not just that they are denied their right to life. There's something else. So these babies here they are on a loading dock in an industrial park in Northbrook, Illinois, waiting to be picked up for trash pickup. And they were aborted, some of them in Raleigh, North Carolina, Fairfield, New Jersey, Wilmington, Delaware, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Fargo, North Dakota. What are you doing here? How do we know where they were aborted? Because the boxes that contained the babies had the mailing labels on them from the abortion centers. So we know where they were aborted. And so I was struck by a new realization that the plight of these aborted children is a terrible, horrible loneliness. They were literally severed from human communion. As if somebody had stacked these boxes up on a raft and then pushed the raft off into a sea of desolation. They're just drifting away. No connection to anything. And that's what they suffer, is that radical isolation. I even felt kind of within myself as I was picking up these boxes to take them out to the car, that this was like their first embrace, right? To be back in the sphere of human communion. And we spent the whole year retrieving these bodies. We had 5,000 bodies at the end of this. And we spent the whole year burying the dead. These are episodes that I talk about in my book. So what does that mean when it comes to sidewalk counseling? And why is it that even if you never turn a woman away, why is it still not a waste of your time? Because when you are there, that means that those babies didn't die alone. That you were there for them. You were witnessing for them. You were pleading for their lives. They didn't die alone. Someone was there for them. And I believe, my faith tells me, that even should they have gone to their deaths, they know you were there. And God knows it. So how can that be a waste? Right? That's how you have to see the work that you're doing. I believe, though, that if you are consistent in your sidewalk presence, you're gonna save a baby. It's gonna happen. Okay. But I think there's another reason to be there. Okay. So let me end this with a story of the greatest gift that a pro-lifer could receive. Okay. So 1982, I was outside of the Concord Medical Center, sidewalk counseling, and I had a very good sidewalk counseling partner. His name was Greg Morrow. And so, yes, men can be very good sidewalk counselors, okay? And he was very good at it. But he had already left. He'd gone for the day. And I was about ready to leave myself. When a yellow cab pulls up to the curb, and this black woman gets out, and I don't really remember exactly what I said to her, but I must have said something like, if you're going in there to have your abortion, please don't do it, I'll help you. And she said, okay. So her name was Nina. She lived on the south side. She was a single mom, really struggling, of course. She had a 9-year-old daughter, Desiree. But she went ahead with the pregnancy. And Greg Morrow helped me, help her out with expenses and stuff and whatnot. And we often would visit her in her apartment. And she had the baby in August of 1983. Darius. Okay. Well, I had kept up with Nina for many years after I had met her outside of Concord. She eventually moved to Kenosha, Wisconsin, and that was only meaning now she's only 40 minutes away because I was in Milwaukee. So I would visit her, right? I'd go over to the house and we would have a nice visit and whatnot. And at that point, Darius was a young teenager, maybe 13, 14 years old. And he was always very friendly when I came over. But I certainly got the impression he's thinking, what is this white lady doing in our lives? So who are you anyway? Right? So, and I think he thought, well, she just helped my mom when my mom was pregnant with me or whatever. So I was always certainly under the impression, I had no reason to think otherwise, that Nina certainly isn't going to tell him that this woman talked me out of killing you, all right? And I'm certainly not going to say anything. It would be awful. I couldn't do that. Why would I do that? Nina eventually got married, moved to South Carolina. And I still kept in touch with her. We'd exchange letters, and I would buy her gift cards and stuff and send them down, and we'd talk on the phone or whatever. Then in January of 2020, she died. Very suddenly, died in her sleep. She was taking a nap. She had a grandchild in the bed with her, sleeping with her, taking a nap. Darius came to visit, came over to the house, found his mom. He was devastated. He and Nina were very close. So I talked to him after his mom died, to listen to him and to console him as much as I could. So in June of 2020, Edmund and I visited his family in Tallahassee, Florida. And I says, look, on our way home, we have to visit Darius, okay? So we made the extra trip to South Carolina, and we went to Darius's apartment. He was basically at that point living in I would have to say, a common law marriage. He was with a woman for 10 years. Her name is Rosalia. He had by then had 4 children. The youngest one was 4 or 5 years old. And Darius would have been 37 that year. And so we're in the apartment. And so Edmund and I are sitting in a couch over here, and Darius and Rosalia and the kids are sitting in a couch across from us, and he had his 2 older sons. They were like 12 and 9 or whatever they were, sitting in the dining room chairs. Okay. And so Rosalia serves us sweet tea, and we're just chatting about, what are you doing? How's your life going? What's up? All that good stuff. And all of a sudden, Darius, who was very tall, stands up, and he motions to his children, and he says, I want you to know, if it weren't for her, I wouldn't be here, and you wouldn't be here neither. Right? Because Monica doesn't believe in killing no babies. He knew. Unbelievable. Nina told him. Okay, I want you to know that if it weren't for her, I wouldn't be here, and you wouldn't be here neither. I cried. Instantly. I couldn't believe that. I've had a lot of women that I've turned away thank me, but never an actual saved baby, right? And it was the greatest gift I'd ever received. In all these years, literally decades, I'm thinking he doesn't know, right? So that was a beautiful, beautiful experience. And if I had left that clinic, after Greg Morrow, so just being there, right? Saying my clumsy words to her, right? Change the world, So don't be discouraged in doing your pro-life work. I know that things can seem very dark. But if we don't have the virtue of hope, nothing's going to change. So don't be discouraged. You will be the light that the world needs in this darkness, and you gotta believe that someday the unborn will be free. There's going to be a change. So just don't give up.
Amen.
God bless you all. Thank you.